going to try and share the next thing, which is a report from Australia, which was just made today, a couple of days ago. So that will be very interesting for us to hear what's going on. And this is Megan, the country contact.
Hello from Australia. Our federal family court matter challenging outdated common law rules for children being able to give so-called informed consent to medical interventions if the parents disagree is still ongoing. This is the one that's been reported in the papers where the two sisters made a pact for the younger to give the elder her eggs in the future because the elder had been told about the fertility impacts of testosterone. The Cass review is being argued by barrister Bell Lane, but the judge so far is refusing to allow the report to be admitted into evidence. The other day in trial, the judge actually complained how long the case was taking, it's 4 weeks so far, and said that cases like this would delay property settlements if they became the norm because 2 other similar cases are also on foot at the moment. And everyone felt great sympathy for those property settlements and wished that the children wanting to be sterilised would just hurry up. The judge intimated that Parliament needed to clarify the law instead so that the responsibility wouldn't be borne entirely by the courts. In the last fortnight, Liberal Senator Claire Chandler asked the E-Safety Commissioner in a Senate hearing about the officer's instructions on compulsory pronoun usage and actions that it's taken against some online posts that misgendered, and asked how that sat alongside the fact that a violent rapist can be housed in a women's prison in Australia and called she. The Commissioner replied, quote, "I fail to see the connection." The consultation on the Federal Online Safety Act closes this Friday. That is the act that relates to the E-Safety Commissioner's powers, and there has been a GC contingent in the submissions. Moving to Tasmania, the Tasmanian Health Minister, this is, I think, the only Liberal government in the country out of 9 at the moment. The Tasmanian Health Minister has chosen not to initiate a state-based inquiry into gender clinics, but has asked the Commonwealth to conduct a federal one instead. On the one hand, this is buck passing, but it is also an Australian first that any health minister has expressed any concern about the Cass review results and indicated any desire to inquire into gender clinics. The Tasmanian Gender Service uses the guidelines developed by the Melbourne Royal Children's Hospital, and these are the ones that failed the review dismally in the Cass-initiated studies. Meanwhile, the Victorian Health Minister has described the Cass review as, quote, misinformation. The New South Wales Parliamentary Committee inquiring into the Omnibus Equality Bill, so-called, which includes self-ID for birth certificates, surrogacy, prostitution, child medicalisation and social transition, has declined to give an opinion on the bill and has referred it back to Parliament for debate. More buck passing. The 2-day hearing included women's groups such as the Feminist Legal Clinic, church groups, as well as pro-trans groups, and the committee's own public survey on the bill had 85% of over 13,000 respondents not support the bill. Only 13% of the public supported it without amendment and another 0.89% with amendments. I will put a link to the committee's report in the chat. Louise Elliott, councillor on Hobart City Council, tried to book a council room in 2023 for a women's rights meeting. Her booking request and her personal information was shared by the Lord Mayor with a pro-trans advocate outside government. This was Rodney Croome, who is the Rodney Croome who brought the UN human rights case years ago about Tasmania's criminalisation of homosexuality. Now he is a pro-trans advocate. Croome asked to meet with the Lord Mayor and asked that she refuse the booking, and both of these things happened. Documents and emails showing this were then withheld from a Freedom of Information request. Elliott filed a complaint with the Tribunal for Discrimination. Conciliation last week resulted in a public apology from the council and, we believe, financial compensation. Complaints regarding the breaches of privacy and the breach of freedom of information laws are ongoing. Just a few more things. The Australian Human Rights Commission held its free and equal conference on its proposed Federal Human Rights Act. An email was sent to speakers alerting them of the fact that CEDAW was omitted from this Human Rights Act proposal, and there were no sex-based rights for women. Only one speaker responded. It was a law professor who said she was sure the concerns regarding omission of CEDAW, etc., would be covered during the session on gender. They were not. The panel consisted of 5 women and 1 man in a dress. They discussed the tickle and giggle case. It was largely misdescribed, but more importantly, it was actually argued as an example of human rights being infringed, not Sal Grover's, but the man who made the complaint, Tickle. The President of the Human Rights Commission, Rosalind Croucher, is coming to the end of her term, however. Her replacement is Hugh de Kretzer, former Director of the Human Rights Law Centre and CEO of Uruk Justice Commission, and he, so far, is entirely pro-trans. The Equality Rights Alliance, which is a network of NFPs that say they're coming together to advocate for gender equality and the human rights of women, girls, and people of marginalised genders. It works with the federal government and the UN. It's very influential. The pro-trans convener, Helen Daly Fisher, has resigned. She's going to be farewelled at the ERA conference in July, which I will be attending, so I'll report back on that. No news on replacement yet. However, the YWCA has announced that it will not be working with ERA in the future. We're not sure why. Amongst other organisations, ASIO, the Security and Intelligence Organisation, published photos of itself lighting up its headquarters to celebrate Pride Month and announced that it had won gold tier awards from ARWE. Now, ARWE is the definitive national benchmark on LGBTQIA+ workplace inclusion, and ASIO cares about getting its approval. Incidentally, the Town Hall building for Hobart City Council, the one that blocked Louise Elliott's booking request, also publicised itself festooned for Pride Month. And lastly, Anna Kerr from the Feminist Legal Clinic will be doing a video statement in support of Ream for the Human Rights Council report on prostitution. That's all from Australia for the moment.